mabala ke mokoni ke fela ke bina le kololo ke kgomo ya naga ba re kololo theoga ke go godimo ga thaba gobane kgomo tša thaba di tla bola ke tlala ke motubatse ke motho wa bo Mannya ba kua tubatse re tšwang re re ke metsi a thata a bokone metsi maropola ntswe e re ke e gomele gona ke re tla re tsena ditabeng ke a leboga.
Dr. Fiona. Dr. Fiona, are you still here?
Yes, ke a leboga se Magatla. Indeed, na lona re tsaba no tswa gole vele go tsebela high school ya rena, I was 2 classes behind you. Ke leboga sebaka se di feeling sona yo a bolelang le lena mo ke Dr. Sewela Fiona Moholwa mo gae ke tswa botlokwa Mphakani ke bereka bjale ka doctor ko sepetlele sa CN Patrudi ko wateng ya basadi re concentrate on women reproductive health and previously worked as an optometrist, and then I have an interest in ophthalmology as I've previously worked in optometry, but then that will be something that will be for the future. But for now, I would like to thank this opportunity and also the opportunity to be given to discuss about the very important women that played a very important role in our lives, and especially the lives of women and their development.
As a woman, said you've got a very colorful credentials. Amongst your credentials is being a member of National Council of African Women, which Mama Charlot was a member of, and also amongst the founders of that organization. So I just want you to briefly, when you think of the name Charlot Mannya Maxeke, what comes to your mind? Can you just give us, a brief overview of what you think of this powerful name, Charlot Mannya Maxeke? Over to you, Mama Tuli.
Thank you very much, Magatla. The question is very relevant, especially from where we are today. Mama Charlot Maxeke, for me, is a trailblazer. She's one woman of her kind. A woman who, when everything was just tough, she made it a point that she doesn't sit back. She raised her voice, she raised her fist. She used everything that she had to make sure that she break all the barriers. One moment we heard of her in Butlokwa, Rakwa Bos. We thought she would end up in Butlokwa. As and when time goes on, we heard that she was somewhere in America, Ohio. And I'm like, this woman, those were the times when it was very difficult for a Black woman to go to the university in her own country, but she finds a way out of this country. And therefore, I think all of us, we should stand up as women, as a society, as Africa, and say there is nothing impossible, everything is possible. For as long as you are on this earth, you must make sure that you traverse every corner of this road and make an impact to the society that you are living in. Thank you very much.
Dr. Fiona, let me come to you. Coming from a rural area, especially a village where Mama Charlot Mannya Maxeke was born into, there are quite a number of challenges, especially in terms of access to education, for young women in particular. So I want you to take us through the journey, your journey from transition from high school to tertiary, some of the challenges that you came across as a young woman, a Black young woman coming from a rural area?
Thank you, Makhatla, for this question. As you've already mentioned, I grew up as a young woman from a rural area that was perceived to be very difficult for a person like me to actually be able to pursue a career that was mostly believed to be a career that was driven by men. So for me, Charlotte Maxeke played a very important role. She was a woman that during her time, during the apartheid time, it was very difficult for Black people to actually go to study anywhere in South Africa, let alone to study in America. And also, it was also very difficult as a woman to go and study herself. So Charlotte Maxeke faced two issues: the fact that she was a Black African woman and a woman in itself. So that in itself was a challenge for her. But Charlotte Maxeke had the perseverance and the courage to actually pursue a career. Facing all those challenges, she did not allow anything to stop her to pursue her career. So when I look at a woman as Charlotte Maxeke, coming from a primary, a high school that was from a rural area, I saw her as an encouragement. I saw her as a role model to say that if she could do it during those difficult times, how can I not be able to do it in this time where now apartheid was now becoming a thing of the past? So as a young woman, when I went out there, I knew that I wanted to work in health, but the career itself, it was not specific, but I wanted to work in health and help people. So when I left my high school, I went to study at the University of Limpopo to study optometry. There were a lot of challenges. Optometry in itself, it was a career that was mostly dominated by whites. So in itself, we were saying that apartheid was no longer there, but there were still challenges that we had to face and had to overcome in such situations. Sometimes you'll have to go to classes, have presentation, and then you would see that someone had performed better than a fellow white student, but still the white student will actually be given the privilege and the opportunity to say she did better than everyone else. But for me, looking at Charlotte Maxeke having overcome such issues, I told myself that that is not going to be an obstacle for me to stop me from achieving what I wanted to be. And then going forward, after achieving my degree as an optometrist, I developed an interest in optometry. And then by then, I developed my interest in ophthalmology, and by then I had already had 2 kids, for which for a woman, you are working, you have 2 kids, now it means you have to focus on your family. Charlotte Maxeke was married, but she also pursued all her ambitions. So for me, I said, I'm not going to stop my kids to prevent me from going to school and further my studies. I'm not going to allow the fact that I'm a woman and people see me as someone who must sit at home, watch the kid, care for a husband. I'm not going to let that stop me from achieving my career. So I went to school and I achieved all that within record time. And right now I'm even considering pursuing my career in ophthalmology, which still requires a lot of attention and hard work. But looking at a woman like Charlotte, I think I can do it. And that's the opportunity that I'm going to take going forward. Thank you very much.
Fiona, thank you so much. And you touched on something very important to say that, Mama Charlotte Maxeke, despite being an African woman, she broke the ceiling, she broke all the obstacles. And I think it will also be remiss of me to not take this opportunity to give the people who gave us this platform as women to express ourselves, especially around this gigantic woman, Mama Charlot Mannya Maxeke. We are live on YouTube. We are hosted by Kgoro Conversation. It is under Africana Justice Association. It is an association which will be introduced by Mr. Martin Kubiani. We know that in our culture, Kgoro like during apartheid time, I think it was only of recent that women are allowed to attend Kgoro sessions. Mama Chulas will agree with me that in rural areas, in the past, you would not have women attend Kgoro sessions. But, post 1994 and of late, we do have women attending Kgoro sessions. So with this time, I want to take this opportunity to give Mr. Martin Kubiani to introduce the very association that gave us this platform as women to express ourselves around the name of Mama Charlot Maxeke. Mr. Kubiani, if you may introduce Africana Justice Association.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mayor Makhatla. We are indeed honored by your presence in this platform. As you are talking, I'm thinking to myself, it was quite a travesty that women for so long were sidelined out of Kgoro, because I feel that we missed a serious voice and wisdom that is embedded. Nonetheless, we are here today under the banner of the Africana Justice Association. Kgoro Conversation is one of our flagship programs. We are interested in getting our people, and in particular Black people, to converse amongst each other, to talk about their challenges, to talk about their victories. And today it's one of those victories where we talk about Charlot Maxeke, a pioneer in her own right. And we are really pleased that you have taken your time, to steer this conversation today. And a warm welcome to our guests as well, Rakadi and Doctor. We really appreciate your presence. And I would also like to welcome everyone who has joined this session tonight to be with us. Our approach on this Kgoro, we never mind the numbers. Our strategy that we have devised is that we want as few people as possible, people that will be able to engage in a conversation. And in that way, we create a content. As Makhatla has indicated, we are live on YouTube, where we are garnering a lot of support. So this content is going to be uploaded onto YouTube, and it's going to stay there. So all the wisdom that we will be sharing this evening is going to be there for decades. And young people that are coming will be able to tap into this conversation one day and listen to the wisdom that was being shared tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kubiani, for a warm welcome. As we move, Mama Chulas, you know, there are so many lessons to learn from Mama Charlot Mannya Maxeke. So looking at our country, do you think we are doing enough, you know, to honor this giant of a woman? When I'm saying honoring her, I don't mean in terms of giving memorial lectures or statues or what. I mean in terms of empowering women and many other ways of honoring this giant of a woman. Do you think we are doing enough, Mama? Mama Twilas, are you still here? Fiona? Dr. Kgoro? Oh, okay. Thank you.
I didn't hear the question properly, but Okari, you are saying, are we honoring Mama Charlot Maxeke?
Yes, are we honoring her enough? Yes, I was saying, are we doing enough to honor her?
Thank you very much, Makhatla. I think me and you and the collective, Bukubianabu, Matome, and Fiona, ke le dumedishe ka mokana ga lena le gore ke le rata kaofela we are on this platform to make sure that this name of Mama Charlot Maxeke remains in us and is also imparted to the young generation, so that each and every child, when she hears this name, she's able to say, even if this child is in KZN, Eastern Cape, she should be saying, because I'm the granddaughter of Mama Charlot Maxeke. What am I saying? I'm saying for too long, this name has been put somewhere elsewhere where it does not belong. And it is now 3 or 4 years that the name is getting out of where it was shelved. But it is not by coincidence that it happened that way. It wasn't an accident or an incident. It is because we are coming from a situation which was well designed to ensure that there are those that are visible and there are those that are not visible. The new political landscape of our country gave us an opportunity to rise above all those challenges and say, we are here and we will be visible, and we are visible. The question is, those who lived before us, are we able to take them out of where they were shelved? And we are trying our best. We're trying our best, not only in terms of memorial lectures, but also by writing books. I know there are women out there who are writing books about Mama Charlot Maxeke. If it wasn't for those books, we wouldn't know about her. And I am in the National Council of African Women, which is an organization that was formed during the time of Mama Charlot Maxeke. We're making it a point that this organization does not die, because if it dies, then the memory of Mama Charlot Maxeke would also die. So we are making it a point that we do exactly that which she was doing. She lived a selfless life. She lived for others until she left this world. So we are not doing that much, but gradually and gradually we are getting there. Thank you very much.
Coming to you, Dr. Mohola, would you say on your part that if someone was to walk around the villages of Botlokwa or even in schools around Botlokwa, and then you mentioned the name Charlot Maxeke, do you think it will click in people's mind who you are talking about? So basically, I'm trying to say to you that do you think that we are giving much honor to the name of Mama Charlot Maxeke, especially where she comes from, Botlokwa, where she was born? Dr. Moholo, are you here?
Yes, I'm still here. Thank you for that question. I'm going to agree and disagree with the fact that are we doing enough when it comes to this issue. I think previously, when it came to issues of women post the years post-apartheid, there was a lot of work being done, even though a lot of women were still left behind, but a lot of work was being done, and a lot of women were getting empowered. The name of Charlot only came up later, but then when I look at the issues now, when I interact with young people in schools, in the hospitals, I feel that we are losing the name. The observation that I've made is that most of the lectures are actually done in platforms where only older generations and like maybe the generation like us are being involved, but the younger generation in itself, it's being left behind, of which will make it even more difficult for us to actually keep this name of Charlot alive. One of the reasons that I'm saying that is that if you look at our young girls, previously it was in high schools and now it's going to primaries. We get a lot of young girls falling pregnant at an early age. That actually means that these young girls are actually going to miss an opportunity for themselves to have an education to their name, of which is something that Charlot Maxeke liked and empowered, and was also advocating that Africans, especially women, need to be educated. But then now, if these young girls are falling pregnant at a very young age, where will they get that opportunity to have that education to actually better their lives? And the biggest mistake that people make these days is that they just want to get an education to be employed. To get an education doesn't only mean that you get an education, you go to a university to come back, and then you must get employed and it ends there. No, it goes beyond just getting employed. It means also you can empower yourself, you can empower your family, you can empower your kids, you can also empower everyone around you to have knowledge around what is happening to themselves and how to actually make their lives better. So I think we actually need to do more when it comes to talking about this name of this gigantic woman and also advocating for the rights of women.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mohola. So this is Kgoro Conversation. We are live on YouTube. We are having a conversation around the name of Mama Charlot Mannya Maxeke, lesson learned, and also lessons to be learned going forward. So Kgoro Conversations, we believe in engaging everyone. So for now, I'm going to take this opportunity to open a platform for members of the audience, just to give their overview. I'm going to allow everyone to raise their hands or to unmute themselves, and then you give an overview of what you think of the name Mama Charlot Maxeke, or if you think that this country is not doing justice in terms of honoring this name. So going forward, what can we do as Black women, but also as Black men, to make sure that this name does not die, to make sure that even generation after us and also generation that comes will also know that there was once a woman, not only a woman, an African woman, not only an African woman, the first African woman to actually get a formal education or even a degree. So we need to make sure that this name does not die. So I just want to open this platform to give everyone who is here to converse. So Kgoro Conversation, just to have a conversation, it's a platform for Black people to converse around issues that affect them. So I'm going to open this platform for members of the audience to engage on this very topic that we're having. So if anyone can just unmute themselves and then come in and share with us your views, or even if there's any lesson that you've learned around the name of Mama Charlot Mannya Maxeke. So I'm opening the platform for everyone. Kgoro, do you have anything to say around the name of Mama Charlot Mannya Maxeke? I'm just picking up on you because I know you have got something to say around this name.
Hi, hello. Am I audible?
Yes, you are very audible.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I've been, since the beginning of this, I'm getting goosebumps because a woman of my age and only getting to know about this giant woman. So I mean, it was 1939 when she passed on. And from the things that I've read about her in the past, something that triggered me was that in that difficult time, this woman was able to get an education to show us, if we lean on education, how far we can go. how much we can benefit, and the world can benefit from us people, not only white or black or women or men, but us people being able to read and having some qualification. Education is important. So I think in terms of people from where she was born, bred and raised, maybe they can do something like a commemoration, and people can bring whatever it is that they think represents and is what she stood for. I mean, whatever she was fighting for, we are still fighting for. I was born 1981, but you can imagine from 1871 when she was born until now, we're still fighting for the same things. It means that some things are not done right, or it means that some things were omitted or were just ignored. So I cannot say it's I can do it alone, because it's not gonna be possible. I need people like Bora Khadi, people by Lemure, they were like I cannot do stuff without the older people, because older people have knowledge, have wisdom, they have perseverance, and they know how to go about these things. I can come with my technology, but it's not gonna help if I'm not with an older woman. So the reason why I was happy to be part of this was because someone that I looked up to, someone that I've read so much about and followed, and even went to the hospital and seen whatever was being discussed. And I'm very grateful to be part of the audience. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you so much, Kgoro. The platform is still open for the. You may have a question for our panelists, or if it's just a comment, or anything you want to say around the name of Mama Charlot Mannya Maxeke. So the platform is still open for anyone who wants to say anything, because this is a conversation we are conversing. Busi,
Hi,
you may come in, CC. Hey,
yes.
Busi.
Hi, ladies.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm good, thanks. And how are you?
All right. And thank you for the opportunity and for the discussion. I think also in our homes, we need to keep these ladies alive and teach our kids as well, because we can't expect others to be teaching our kids. It starts at home, but also our education system. I think our history books need to change and represent who we are, because if you look at the education system, I don't think it has changed much. Kids are still being taught about Shakespeare, and we've got our own African writers that could also be brought into our education system. So I think the way we're doing things should represent who we are as Africans, and that's how we can keep their names like Charlot Maxeke alive, and so that the future generations know about them as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Busi. You touched on something very important, that it must start in our homes, because, sometimes relying on the school curriculum and also relying on the media to teach our children about about our heroes and heroines, is that they give a narrative that suits them. I give an example around, I always say, when it comes to Mama Miriam Makeba, just for instance, as an example, the media will give you a narrative that sells, but they'll never tell you that this is one of the women that was denied an opportunity to come and bury her own mother because, she was exiled and those kind of things. So there's more to these women than what the media is selling us, and also what the school curriculum is telling us. So you touched on a very important aspect, that let it start in our homes. Let's teach our children about these heroines. Let's teach our children about Mama Charlot Maxeke, so that they don't get a narrative that suits a certain agenda. So thank you so much for that point. The platform is still open. Do we have anyone who still wants to say anything before I go back to our panelists?
My contribution flows from Busi's contribution, because she said something extremely interesting, that it's easy for children to learn, and for us, all of us, to know about Hitler from schools, and in so much literature you can come across, and other productions. And to the guests, number one, Rakgadi Mamatulas, is it possible for you to give us a perspective on how we arrive at a point where it's easy to learn the work of Hitler, but very difficult to learn about the work of Mama Charlot, Mother of Africa? Number one. Number two, to Dr. Moholwa, what type of work can we do? Because obviously it appears that the Department of Education may not do much for us to put the work of Mama Africa at center. And the purpose is the following. One, inspire girl children, young women and women. Number two, if women do well, you may have men who are inspired by them, but you may have chauvinists who think that they should not have women doing better than them. And in the negative, they get motivated and do well in their different sphere of life for different negative reasons, but in the end, have a better society. So those are the two questions to the guests. Thanks, Chair of the session.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chidi. So if our guests did not get the questions, they may ask. I've written down the questions for them, but if they got the question, they may respond to the questions posed by Mr. Chidi.
Thank you, Makgatla.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'll respond to the question that was raised by Mr. Chidi, saying what type of work needs to be done to actually make sure that the name of Charlot remains on our mouth for a very long time. The first important thing that was said by the previous speaker was the point that we need to educate our kids from our own homes. So as mothers, parents, sisters, aunts, and everyone who's at home, it's very important to talk to our kids about these issues. The other important thing is that when we celebrate such days, we don't just celebrate these days with older people, go have lectures in universities and stuff. It's very important that we bring such dialogues to our young kids, to our communities, active community members who are knowledgeable in such issues can have such dialogues with our young kids, with our local community radio station, where they can involve and engage young kids and talk to them about such people and such women, such as Charlot Maxeke. And the other important thing is that we must encourage reading, and which is something that I've seen that Aus Makgatla encourages, as she has already started a library in our community. Reading is very important. Most of the information that we miss out is hidden in books that we don't really read. And such books are never seen in our schools, be it primary schools or high school. You never get an opportunity to see such books in our area. So it's very important to encourage our kids to read and also buy them books that are appropriate for their age. So I also think that it will also be very important that if we look in our communities, writers, we encourage writers and other people to actually have books or dialogues that are age appropriate to the kids. Because sometimes you'll find that there's this book that is there, has all the information, but you find that a 12-year-old from primary find it very difficult for them to understand such books. So it will also be very important if we start having such books that are age appropriate from a very young age, also accommodating older people like us. I think from there, that's where I'll end.
Thank you so much, Dr. Moholwa. Mama Tupilas, there was a question posed to you. If you got the question, you may proceed to answer. If not, I'll repeat the question for you.
I'll talk to the question of inspiration. I think the first thing that we need to do is to do a reflection, to say, if we are to talk of Mama Charlot in 2023, and agreeing that she is not known to all of us in South Africa, then there is a challenge. But when I look at it, I'm just thinking now to say, you see, when you are looking through the lenses of one who is no more, it is a big challenge, not only to the living. It requires connection to the living dead so that so that we can, so that the dead can be given expression. One thing for sure, Mama Charlot Maxeke was a woman of her time. She was in touch with her people's pain and struggles. And what is it that will interest us and our children about this journey that she traversed? If we want to zoom in her and ensure that each and every person knows who this woman is, what her role is, and how important she is in our lives today, we should have an approach of having an image of a river's load. During heavy rain, a stream carries a load as it is. As it moves. Now we're having Mama Charlot Maxeke. She did that. Mokopa wa paramoto. Aema kama otware ke motho wa bo Marua Tuna, ke motho wa bo Kubiana, ke motho wa bo Matome le bo Magatla le bo Fiona. A itswa botokwa aba fitla Eastern Cape. So that in itself should not just be seen as leetonyana. Ke leeto le legolo that we must share with our children. And I think Fiona raised an important point about reading and reading and reading. But we are told that our children can't read. And who is to blame? If Mama Charlot, during those hard times, was able to read and reach a point where she becomes the first woman with a BSc degree, what is so difficult with us to reach a point where we are able to inspire our children about our own history and her story? Now, the other thing is that why is it that we are not able to see through all these things? Akakwa the question from Chidi. Mara, ke kwa o ka re o ba boledisha something like re ka dira eng ye nngwe. And ke gopola monna o mongwe ba re ke Maurice Hapwash. He said the present generation may rewrite history, but it does not write it on the blank page. The present generation may rewrite history. But how are they going to rewrite a history that they do not know? They will write the history Yabu Shakespeare and not the history Yabu Mama Charlot, Mama Winnie Mandela. So it is a load that we must carry and a load that we must ensure that our own children are carrying, so that when we are going, we preach and preach. Mama Charlot was a preacher. Mama Charlot was an educationist. So let's preach about this woman until each and every child knows who Mama Charlot Maxeke is. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mama Shules, and also Dr. Fiona for answering the questions, which I believe that is a responsibility for all of us. It's not only a responsibility for a certain sector of society or even us as women, but I think it's a responsibility for all of us here and everyone else in their own spaces, to make sure that the legacy of Mama Charlot Mannya Maxeke lives on. That is also for the benefit of our children and also their children and also the next generation to come. So we need to write books that speak about Mama Charlot Maxeke. Yes, there are books there, but are they enough? So moving forward, I'm opening a session again for members of the audience, just to give a reflection. You may comment, you may pose questions. The idea is just to converse around this name so that it doesn't become a conversation for one, but it become a conversation for all of us. We own this name. So I'm going to give a platform to anyone in the audience, just to give a reflection on the name of Mama Charlot Mannya Maxeke. I see that I don't see anyone unmuting themselves. So I think we are gearing towards the end of our conversation. So I think around 7 o'clock we will be done with this conversation. So as we move, Mama Chulas, I want to ask you a question. You know, given the historical background of South Africa, you know, we come from a painful past of patriarchy coupled with apartheid, you know, oppression of Black people, oppression of women. So I want to ask you a question that, you know, post 1994, we still have people who do not believe that women are capable to hold serious position in society. I'll give you an example in politics. Year in, year out, when there's a conference season, you see a lot of lineups going up and down. So every time you see names of women, they only feature in terms of deputizing men. And yet we come from a very country with rich history, with women who fought so hard for this democracy. I'm talking about women like Mama Charlot, Mama Lillian Ngoyi, you know, Mama Helen Joseph, Mama Winnie Mandela. You know, you can name all of them. The list is endless. You know, so even women who used music, women who used literature, who were writers. So I want you to give us, you know, a perspective. What do you think is the cause of this? You know, I don't know how to call it or how to phrase it, but this thing of people not believing, is it us women not believing in ourselves, or is it society not ready to believe in us as women? I'll start with you, Mama Chulas. Mama Chulas, are you there?
Yes, Makhatla. May you please repeat the question?
Oh, my question was, given the historical background of South Africa as a country, with a lot of women who fought for this country, including Mama Charlot Maxeke, and you still have a lot of people who do not believe that women are capable to hold certain position in society, be it in business, be it even in literature, and be it even in politics. I'd give an example in politics because it is the one that is much in the public domain, that during conference season, you will see a lot of posters of campaigns going around. You see a lot of women featuring as deputies. So my question is, do you think that as a country or the world as a whole, are we not ready to have women in women in strategic positions? Is it us women not believing in ourselves, or is it society as a whole not ready for women leadership?
Thank you very much, Makgatla. It is society as a whole. You know, for me, it is that which you believe in that moves the mountain. So society, in as much as we're talking of patriarchy, that patriarchy was ingrained in us, such that even when we are talking of women empowerment, when we're talking of affirmative action, this affirmative action, if you look at it from 1994, it is an affirmative action, not an affirmative action for men and women. It is an affirmative action for women, meaning that women do not know or they lack knowledge and expertise, even when they have gone to the same school and then they've got degrees, and this woman has got 98%, this man has got 66%. But when we go for interviews, then women will always be given lower marks, not because she did not perform in the interview, because that which we believe in as a society, in the interviews, the panelists will be men and women, and will be shocked to observe that men may even give women 4.422. And then when you look at the scores that comes from women, they can give another woman 1. Why is it that they're doing that? It is because it is something that has been planted. The seed in their entire system, in our entire system, is like that. When I look at Makgatla as a young girl going out, you know, writing books, teaching children, I don't believe that my child can get the best out of Makgatla. I'll rather make it a point that my child wakes up at 3 o'clock in the morning to go and be in town. We don't believe in ourselves. We believe in other people. That is why we volunteered our children to other people who are now teaching our children their own culture. Our children are losing their identity. So it is a long way to go, because that which the apartheid and colonialism has done to us, it's a mess. And we're in this mess as a country because of that. If maybe I am not telling the truth, look at what we have done after taking over in 1994. We had educational institutions, things that Mama Charlot believed in. Where is Bukwena Moloto? Where is Dr. C.N. Patuti today as we are speaking? It's a shame they are not there. Where are the colleges of nursing? Where on earth have you ever seen a nurse by then during the apartheid era not taking care of the sick? You go to the private hospital, it is much better. You go to public hospital, you are sick, and then this young woman is there concentrating on the phone, not even listening to you. It's a careless society that we are in. But then where does patriarchy comes in all these things that I am saying? I'm bringing patriarchy because we have been led by men throughout and throughout and throughout. And that in itself is being put in the psyche of each and every person, including our children. You look at the interaction of a boy child and a girl child, it has that power over, I'm a man, I'm a man, I'm a man. And we also playing along, I'm a woman, I'm a woman. So we have to rise up like Mama Charlot Maxeke and ensure that we prove to the world that we can make it. We must be the Mama Charlot Maxeke, we must be the Mama Winnie Mandela, we must be Dulcie September, who was killed in Italy, and then her story also is not told anywhere. There's just a whole lot of, you know, a basket where we can put all these women who are normal and write a book about them and what they strive for. one thing for sure, they were all fighting for education, peace and justice, and to ensure that the oppression that we are in is dealt with. And the last part is, we're coming from a society where men and women were dealt with by the apartheid regime. Men would wake up in the morning, go to work. When they get to work, what becomes of them? They become boys. Women get to work, they become girls. That in itself has killed the confidence of a Black woman and a Black man. And hence today we're having this violence. It's a violence of power that has been distracted, and a whole lot of things happens. Men became very angry. Women were also angry. They never had time to sit down with their children and tell them the stories. The then generations were able to sit down and then and the stories. We don't have that. We look for TV all the time. Our children hop from one channel to another. When do they read about our history? When do we sit down around the table and talk about these things? We don't have that. We don't even sit together and eat anytime that you want. So the family is disintegrating in all fairness. Thank you very much.
That was quite a lot, Mama. I think you were even at some point emotional. It shows the extent in which you are passionate about issues of struggle for women. So there was a question the time I opened a platform for members of the public, members of the audience to pose questions. David raised his hand and I could not see it. So David, if you may come in, the platform is yours. And also, just before you come in, I've seen the founder and the chairperson of women, of empowered women in the country, which has got it's a business forum and it's also a book club. Mrs. Mulalo Nemataheni. I hope I'm pronouncing the same name very well. You are very welcome, Mrs. Mulalo. David, you may come in.
No, thank you very much, Chairperson. Mama, good evening. I was not intending to raise a hand or rather, interfere with this whole, conversation, because my idea was that I needed to come and learn. But then with what you have raised, Chairperson, I wanted to just add to the question that you'd asked, so that when Mama Tulas gives a response, he gets to attend to it from, a holistic perspective. Because one, I want to put a disclaimer that I do not disregard the struggles that women have went through and are still going through. But then what is then my interest is that with where we are now, we are looking into the boy child and the girl child, who we need to develop, that they get to be at an equitable level, as they grow, as we are trying to readdress that which has happened in the past, whereby men were treated differently due to the dominance of the patriarchal system. But then where we are now, we have acknowledged that my female counterpart has the equal rights as I am. So therefore, if I'm to then be in a room whereby I have a boy and a girl, I am so much of a view that I need to develop them, number one, at the most equitable level, so that at least the two are able to coexist in a world of their own generation. Because
your network is cutting.
Okay,
David,
am I audible?
Your network is a low cut.
Hello.
Yeah, now you are.
Now I'm audible now.
Yeah, you are audible.
All right.
Yes.
All right, no, thanks. As I was still saying, that my only fear is for us to fix one problem whereby we level up the girl child, that at the end of the day, she can't coexist with the boy child, because we have left a huge gap in trying to readdress what the patriarchal system has done to our mothers, our grandmothers, and all those that came before the current generation that we have now. So the idea is that we, at the end of the day, need to holistically, at the same time where we are now, see to it that we advance both of them, because the reality is that the boy child as well as the girl child need the same help, needs the same support as we are to be giving to this girl child, so that at the end of the day, the both of them get to develop. So, Mama, in terms of what I wanted you to go further into, as you answer the question that was asked by the chairperson, Mahata, I wanted us to also just go into how then do we raise the boy child and a girl child, in a sense that we do not end up fixing one problem and coming back to say that now, while we're trying to readdress challenges faced by the girl child of our current generation, we neglected the boy child. So it means that at all times, we're always going to be addressing one problem, leaving the other behind, and then now having to come back and say we need to also uplift the boy child. So our focus should not only be in fixing one problem at the same time, but then we should also understand the potentiality of what we stand to achieve and what consequences that shall bring if we then neglect the other one. Because I can tell you, the other one thing that is there now, as a young person, I will speak from experience. As a young person whom I believe I've done the most to show capabilities and potential in terms of as far as leadership is concerned, as far as education is concerned, but then we are still subjected to the fact that no, you young, you cannot lead, you are young, therefore you cannot get this particular position, So those are issues that as Franz Fanon will say, that as each generation must identify its mission and fulfill it or betray it in relative opacity. I, as where I am now, trying to identify that mission, trying to pursue it and see it that it comes to reality. We are still faced with situations whereby we are still neglected. So in a way, I can say that a new revolution then begins from saying that, okay, yes, we had the apartheid, but then now it's post-apartheid. Yet, as young people, we are still subjected to systematical challenges that were faced.
Sorry to interject, David. As you wrap up, David.
No, it's fine. I think I'll like to just wrap it up from here. But then in summary, that is what I had in mind. I don't know whether I've even asked the question or I just made a comment to what I'd hoped that the conversation will take shape into.
Thank you so much, David. As young people are always passionate about raising issues, which is very good, because when you're having a conversation, there should be robust engagement. Everyone should be on board. So I don't think this question is only posed to our panelists. So if there's anyone on the platform who would want to engage on what David has said, which in my understanding, I think what David is basically saying is that let us not leave a boy child behind while trying to make a girl child to rise. So I think he's saying, let us not, while trying to fight patriarchy, create another problem where you would have girl child being unable to coexist with a boy child. So I think that's how I understood David. So I'm opening a platform for anyone on the audience just to give an input, even if it's part of our panelists. If you want to engage on what David has said, then we may do so. Without even raising a hand, you may just unmute yourself and then come in.
Mahata, this is Fiona speaking. I think I might have a point or two to put across, especially addressing the question that was asked about how women are still being put behind, and also looking at the issue of not leaving the boy child behind. I think to add on what Rahadi had said, we must not forget that our culture play a very important role in actually molding an individual to become who they are today. The reason why I'm saying that is that from a young age, it happened with us. It's still happening with some of our kids, and I think it's still gonna happen. When we grow up, if you look at home, you will have a girl child and you will have a boy child. The way we are raised up, a girl child is always raised up to become a woman who takes care for a home, and a man is raised to become a leader. You'll have two kids, a girl and a boy, attending the same grade, but when they come back to school, the girl will be expected to do dishes, the girl will be expected to cook, and then the boy will then be given the platform to say to the girl, I'm hungry. The boy will not be given the platform to say, go and make your own food. So for us to make sure that we empower both our young girls and our young boys the same way, it should be given that dishes are not for ladies. Each and everyone who's at home can wash dishes. Cooking is not for ladies. A girl can still play with cars outside, can still make toy cars outside, not to be expected to play with dolls. Because once we see a girl playing like that, we'll be saying this one will become a lesbian. Once you see a guy starting to cook, they will be saying, this one will be gay. That in itself actually molds our kids to become what they are today. That's why you'll find in areas when elections are happening, a woman, through how she was made to grow up, does not believe that another woman will be able to lead, because she was never made to believe that when growing up she can lead. She has that mentality to say only a man can lead. So if we actually change the way we raise our kids to say, do whatever a guy can do, you as a girl can do it, it can change that narrative to say who can be a leader, who cannot be a leader. And then I think that will also play a very important role to say a man will see a woman as their equal, not to see someone who must serve them, who must be under them, who must follow them. So I think it's very important that we must change that, the way we raise their kids. One thing that I usually tell my kids, my boy will always say, but mom, why do I wash dishes at home and my friends don't wash dishes at their home? One thing I've told him is that the day you come back and tell me that what is it that your sister uses to wash dishes that you don't have, then that will be the day I will allow you not to wash dishes. You must know that you are an equal to your sister. What you can do, she can do. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Samuhola. Do we have anyone who wants to add to the conversation around not forgetting a child behind while trying to dismantle patriarchy? Without even raising your hand, you can just come in, unmute yourself, and get into the conversation. Without anyone coming in, I think we are coming towards the end of our conversation. So at this moment, I want to give an opportunity to our panelists just to, reflect on the lessons learned. I understand that they've said so much around the name of Mama Charlot Maxeke, but I want to believe that there are so many lessons to be learned from this name, a great name that should inspire us. So Mama Chulas, what are the most valuable lessons learned from the name Mama Charlot Maxeke, especially her work, especially, her role in our struggle? So if you may just give us, a perspective or just outlines as we are going towards the end of our conversations, what are the lessons learned?
Makhatla. Hello?
Yes, madam. Did you get the question?
No, I just heard you saying the rules. Maybe just repeat.
Okay, my question was, as we are going towards the end of our conversation, I want us to reflect on the lessons learned from Mama Charlot Mannya Maxeke, especially her work, you know, her role in our struggle. So what can you say about the lessons learned from this great woman, this great leader, this great academic?
Okay, thank you very much, Mahatla. Maybe I should just go back and talk about and respond to you in the other way around. For me, it will be like, what did she bring with from America? Did Mama Charlot have a strategy to engage the government? Did she have some tactics? Because strategy and tactics goes hand in hand. Now, looking at her through the lenses of the anti-pass campaign, we can see a defiant Mama Charlot there. She might have been tired of the presentation if she was still alive today. The presentation, and just the weight, lack of implementation. We've got, you know, this beautiful constitution and policies, but lack of implementation. It was not going to make her famous in the scheme of things. We can see her through the lenses, the formation of trade union and the full experience thereof, how she was going to utilize it. We wouldn't be where we are if the unions that we were having were to emulate Mama Charlot Maxeke. And then through her interest in the youth, we see her being very committed to the future. David raised a very important point about the youth and the raising of a boy child in relation to a girl child. And I earlier indicated how the family is being disintegrated. Being disintegrated in how we're raising our children, how we conduct ourselves in our own families. So in short, her work are there for us to see, and only if we could understand it within the context of building a family and a society, her role will be seen. And she played a very important role in our lives. Ours is just to emulate her and ensure that education is key to everything that we are doing. We can't have a society where in each and every street where you walk, there is a nyaupist. You go to the villages, it's a nyaupist. You go to town, it's a nyaupist. And nowadays, it is not only boy children, it is also girl children. So the youth are being destroyed by drugs and everything that is being brought in this country. Why is it that before the political landscape of 1994, we were just children, we grew up, and then we fought to ensure that this country is where it is today? So unfortunate that today we are seated here, we're talking about Mama Charlot Maxeke, we also thinking of Mama Winnie. What is it that these great heroes of ours are saying wherever they are, when this country is having a boy child and a girl child that are being destroyed each and every time? 10 years to come, we may not have families of the youth because they would have been died. They would have died of nyaupe and drugs that have been brought to this country. And this country, we're having foreigners who are doing what they want. When we try to raise our voice, we are told that we are xenophobic. We are not xenophobic, we're patriots, we love this country, and we can't sit back and watch. Mama Charlot and Mama Winnie, they never sat back, they stood up and raised their voice. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mama Chulas. Dr. Moholwa, if you were to give an advice to a young Black woman from a very deep rural area, you know, about education, what would you say, especially taking lessons from Mama Charlot Maxeke? What would you say, Dr. Moholo?
Thank you very much again for this platform. Makata, what I would say is that a young girl or even be a boy, as we are already discussing that we must not exclude a boy child from our conversation. Don't let anything deter you from your dreams. You can learn that your dreams are valid and they are right and they are meant to be followed by. Just because you are from a poor rural area doesn't mean that you are incapable of doing anything. As today we are celebrating Africa Day, you must also remember your Africanness, your trueness, be who you are, believe in who you are, and believe in where you come from. And that in itself will allow you to empower yourself to actually achieve what you want. Miss Charlot Maxeke did not allow her poor background to deter her to follow her dreams and becoming what she wanted to be and following an education. Even if you are in a rural school that does not have all resources that most schools have, you can still achieve what you want to achieve. I am a living example of that, and I also believe that you, Makhatla, you are a living example of that, and many others that are on this platform and who are listening are also an example of that. So the young girls out there, young boys out there, just believe in yourself and follow your dreams. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Moholo. We are coming to an end of our conversation. From my side, before I hand over to one of the members of Africana Justice Association, just to give a vote of thanks. From my side, I want to take this opportunity to continue to thank Africana Justice Association for this great initiative called Kgoro Conversation. Like I said, this is a very great platform for us as people just to come and have a conversation about ourselves, about our issues, about our heroes, about our heroines. You know, this is a very platform that gives ordinary people an opportunity to come and have a conversation. Ordinary people who are doing extraordinary things. There's a platform that gives extraordinary human beings to come and, you know, give perspective on certain issues. Just the last conversation, we had an opportunity to listen to Dr. Sello Khalani. Those of us who even attended the session, we were even mesmerized with his music. He sang for us. Unfortunately, today we don't have anyone to sing for us. Like I said, that you know, as African people, even today as our day, we may be landless, but we still have our identity and we still have our music, which defines us. So thank you so much for the association, for this great opportunity and also this great platform. Indeed, we gave a reflection on the great name that is Mama Charlot Mannya Maxeke. And I don't think we have exhausted enough. We will have an ongoing discussions as we move. I think more will be done, not only giving lip service, but I think also as an individual. As an individual, I will go back, reflect, do an introspection, and think that am I doing enough to honor the name that is Mama Charlot Mannya Maxeke. So I think I'm challenging myself and also other women who are here and other men who are here that let us go and reflect and ask ourselves that are we really doing enough to, you know, to honor this great name? And honoring, I don't mean to name street names. I don't mean to do memorial lectures and all this kind of things that will fade with time, but to do to preserve a legacy for generations to come. So without wasting much time, I think I saw in the message that Rakgadi Utore Retela. I'm not sure whether should one of the members of association to give a vote of thanks before Rakgadi Areta, or Rakgadi Arete pele, then member of the association will give you. Actually, as a chairperson, I think I'm still in charge. Let Rakgadi Arete, then from there we'll have a vote of thanks from one of the members of the association. So Rakgadi, dithapo ke tša lena, ba re kgadi a ena bosetlha ka bo yona. So re bontšheng meragelo ya bakoni.
Nna ke kgadi e kgolo ya bakoni. Ke ngwana legodi la Setlhako Mokoni. Ke motho wa Bolammatseleng. Ke motho o tswang Tubatse metsi a thata Bokone metsi Maropolantswe. Ke tlhakana le Charlot Maxeke ngwana Mannya ka gore e le Motubatse wešo. Ge ba mo reta ba re ke Mannya Nokeni. Ke bo khutela masekela matobolo tsa bo Makganyoga. Botšhele bja bo khutela masekela ke ba mamphatsa kobo ya bothitho. Ke bo modidima bo Mokgadi. Ba re wena o re ne mamphatsang ke wele matlhakatlhakanene tsebatiwe ke Sobane. Ke bana ba Mmago Masebe. Ke batho ba bo Mmamosabo a Tlou. Ke batho ba bo Kgope Masedutla Motseng. Batho ba bo Rothete a Mankwetlo Tlhokolotsane Sebatiana Botšhitšhidi. Ba sentše ba rena mantleng ba rona ba sala kgakala. Ba Tubatse we. Ke a leboga.
Shate, aye Motubatse we. One of the members of the association, if you may give us a vote of thanks before we officially close this session.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Without any further ado, I would just want to say thank you to all the speakers. Mama Tulas, it is always interesting to listen to you, give a perspective on issues, and not also mention the way you always praise yourself and also get to make us proud as Africans. When and Dr. Fiona, it is for the first time I meet you, Mama, and thank you for the invaluable information that you have shared with us. And it is correct, Chairperson. I think we may still need to engage further about this topic. It would be more interesting, to see it addressing issues holistically, in a sense that some of the issues that we acknowledge that we still need to cover, because we don't want to address part of the problem. We want to address the problem collectively and ensure that we don't have to come back and say, but then while we're addressing this one, we forgot this one, and still have to come back and and address that. So it is very interesting, and I would really just want to say, on behalf of the association, I would like to thank everyone else that have managed to attend this session with us. We may not be a lot, but then the few that we were here, I believe that we have taken something that we'll be able to share with the others that might have not attended the session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. I think we've come to the official ending of our session. Thank you to the panelists. Thank you to Africana Justice. So from me, it's a goodbye and a good night.
Thank you.